Chapter 1, Set Perspective. It may be the result of a car accident injury from years back, or the fact that my feet have always arched in such a way that throws my spine out of alignment, or a combination of both. Or poor shoes, like bad shoes that we all wore as we were little kids. Regardless of the origin, the photo taken by my now acupuncturist revealed just how out of alignment my posture had become. And had it not been for this new perspective, I would continue going about my daily life all slouched over. Being misaligned feels normal, comfortable, and right. Lengthening my spine, shifting my shoulders back, and rotating my pelvis forward, my posture is corrected. The only problem is everything feels painfully out of place. After years of compensating for the low back pain, my stance had become all sorts of crooked. But there were clues pointing to the problem all along. The chronic pain, the fact that I could not sit down for extended periods of time, the lump of scar tissue, the constant lumps, by the way, more than one, the constant cracking of joints. It's not as if I didn't realize that these symptoms were present. I felt them every day. A combination of hopelessness, lack of trusted resources, and ignorance as to what to do next led to each day passing without solutions. Immediately after the car accident, I received over a year of care. Time passed, the insurance money depleted, and I carried on. Over the following years, the weak and damaged areas became aggravated. Day after day, it became increasingly painful until the discomfort had become so common, I would just push it to the background and carry on with my life instead of addressing the root issue. Two separate negative experiences with negligent doctors, by the way, two as in two different issues, but like lots of negligent doctors, made me extremely apprehensive to go see one again. I subconsciously preferred the physical pain over investing the time, money, and emotional energy to see doctors who would tell me all the solutions that they did not have. The hopelessness and stress brought on by an uncompassionate or incompetent doctor amplifies an already painful situation. I had a surgery, like a sinus or a wisdom teeth extraction surgery gone wrong, where he pushed the tooth up into my sinuses, and then I had to have another surgery later to fix what he did, and he didn't tell me about it, and so that was kind of like a pretty big traumatic issue that I look back and I'm like, how was nobody advocating for me during that time? I'm anyway. This avoidance unintentionally created a ripple effect of damage, which increased overall healing time. My muscles, tendons, and joints have to unlearn what had become constant and comfortable and relearn how to stand in alignment. I had to strengthen and reinitiate the muscles that had tapped out and identify why it hurt to stand straight. With help, I will break through the scar tissue to allow healthy blood flow in. Once I take these steps toward healing, I will hopefully mend the current damage and prevent the expansion of the ripple effect. Word girl, proud of you. For the record, I have, and I did, and whatever. I wrote this a couple years ago, so maybe like 5 years ago, I think. And I do not struggle with all of that pain stuff that I wrote about, but it was because I started paying attention to it. And in case you didn't pick up what I was putting down, this was all like an analogy for how we go through life and tend to ignore what's happened and or how we've ended up here, and kind of even taking inventory of like, how am I? Who am I? Is everything okay with me? And start dealing with things so that we can live a fruitful, productive life. We're here where it says broken record. Similarly, there are times in life when we have been living the same broken pattern for so long that we lose sight of the need or the possibility for change. Or maybe we can see that something is not working, but we have no idea where to begin to address it. Maybe we've had negative experiences with the pros who are supposed to help us with these types of things, so we just keep on keeping on, carrying our issues with us wherever we go. Regardless, we have become masters of autopilot. This ability serves a great purpose in sheer survival, but is not conducive for abundant victory. An abundant victory should be the aim, should it not? In terms of how we go about living life, once we learn how to do something, this method tends to become our default. because it is comfortable and requires the least amount of brain power, time, and risk. Consider the many ways to tie a shoe. Some are taught one way, others another, and some kids creatively teach themselves. There's a reason most of us tie our shoes pretty close to the same way that we were taught. It's effective in fulfilling its purpose. When we have been using the same method that requires constant retying of the laces throughout the day, it may not occur to us that we could find a better way. Even if the new way effectively saves interruptions for the rest of our lives, we resist the challenges that come with learning something new. We become impatient with the time that it takes to remember the new way. When friends are around, we feel silly because it looks like we are struggling to tie a shoe. So we just stick with what we know to save face, even if we have to stop and retie our shoes 9 times a day. It's more comfortable to be a pro at something that kind of works than to go back to the bottom and be a rookie for a season, establishing a better way. This is true for many life circumstances. We operate how we do because it's what we know. Instead of looking at our methods and discerning effectiveness or functionality, we stick with what is familiar. Our current lifestyle is a conglomerate of habits, patterns, routines created by our life positioning, our mindset, and our adapted coping mechanisms. Let me say that again. We operate how we do because it's what we know. We stick with what's familiar because it's comfortable. So our current lifestyle and how we live is a conglomerate of our habits, our patterns, our routines, and it's created by like our life positioning. What I mean is, for example, do we have a job that gives flexibility? Or are we parents that, are constantly being pulled in a bunch of directions because of our children? What is our mindset? Is it like pro victory, or is it kind of like indifferent, or is it despondent, or is it complacent, or is it afraid? Uh, and then all of our adapted coping mechanisms based on all of those things. The nature of each of those things is influenced by what we have been taught by others, by our own personal, so we call that learned behavior, by our own personal experiences, and by our perceived experiences and the outcomes of others. So, for example, we see a wealthy person and we may perceive, oh, well, they were just born into this special family and they had this business and they're greedy, and that's, or they did something that I could never do to like have that. And we perceive things about other people that may or may not be accurate. Although normal and familiar to us, our routines could be hindering us from living a maxed out and flourishing life. Sometimes we end up doing it just because it's what we know. So, how this book can help. In order to bring about the most healthy, happy, and fulfilling existence for ourselves, we must acknowledge our present lifestyle and every ingredient that created it. We're going to talk about snatch up your life. I'm laughing because it's funny how we've come full circle and I'm still talking about the same thing. I guess it's what I'm supposed to be talking about. So we're going to look at every ingredient that created our current life, the good, the bad, and the painful. Once we have all the ingredients on the table, we can decide what ones we want to bring with us for the remainder of our journey and which ingredients to leave behind that no longer serve a healthy purpose in our lives. There's a difference between conceptual understanding and inner conviction. Oh, here your girl goes getting all detailed about whatever, philosophizing stuff. I'm like, I gotta think on this part. Okay, what? There's a difference between conceptual understanding and inner conviction. Okay, so that's kind of like surface level concept understanding, and then the inner change, like where like, okay, that seed has actually taken root and is producing a difference in your real life. When encountering a new concept, it begins as a cognitive understanding disconnected from our inner truth. So it's like, oh, it's this idea and it's a concept, and we can like look at it and be like, yeah, that's good. And I want that. But it might not be yet deeply rooted as our inner truth, bearing the fruit of its kind in our life. meaning it makes sense on the surface level and it's even desirable, but it has yet to cross the bounds of becoming such a deeply understood truth that it shifts the way we operate. Well said, girl. A concept is an idea outside of ourselves that we are able to comprehend, while conviction is comprehension that is so deeply rooted, it causes the seeds of beauty to bloom within us until our most authentic self takes over. Shifting from concept to conviction is a dynamic journey. You're telling me. For a concept to become conviction, we must move through the issue intimately until we collide with breakthrough. Yes, a breakthrough is a revelation that grants access to the next dimension of victory in a given area. Word! A breakthrough is a revelation that grants access to the next dimension of victory in a given area. We want that. In order to access breakthrough and shift from concept to conviction, we will shine light on our present reality, tackle our hindrances, acknowledge and mend our wounds, and secure peace and freedom for ourselves permanently. Yes. The next key is to learn how to maintain this new conviction, resisting the temptation of allowing our old patterns to creep back in. Okay, I'm going to cut it there, and we're going to talk about our ingredients. We're going to pick up right there next time. Be blessed, be well, be free.